Hey man, what it do, YouTube? It's your boy back again with another video. You feel me? We got a 51-minute GTA 6 deep dive video, and it's when your boy Sappy. You know, watch the other one. I'll tell you, go watch the other one. In the description, you want to get straight to his channel. Channel fire, got a bunch of GTA 6 content, break it down, some of the maps, or some of the areas of the maps and all that. But it's 51. I ain't gonna talk too long. Link in the Discord in the description when GTA 6 online come out, and yes, it's gonna come out probably like a month. Couple of weeks after GTA 6 drop, car dupes, XP, fast ways to get XPs, goddamn fast way to get money. We on there. Make sure you subscribe. We're gonna wait for 4K. Let's go. Ain't gonna talk too much, man. 51 minutes, man. I wanted to watch it, so I'm gonna watch it with y'all. I'm gonna try not to, I'm trying not to talk too much, pause it too much.
I've just spent the last 2 weeks diving deep into the mapping project, the leaks, and the real-world inspiration for Grand Theft Auto 6's Vice City. Now, I've discovered some really interesting things that Rockstar is doing in this place, and today I'm going to be sharing all of it with you guys. Now, if you've enjoyed all the interesting things that we've discovered in this series so far, then buckle up, because this episode is absolutely chocked full of details. Vice City is unlike anything that you've seen in GTA 5. It's bigger, it's richer, and the level of care and detail that Rockstar seems to be putting into just this city alone is spectacular. So smash the like button, subscribe if you've been holding out. I'm Sav, this ain't your average YouTube clickbait. Let's dive in.
I can't wait till this game to drop first, so we gotta push out that content first.
So according to the Rockstar website, we're a long way from the 80s, but Vice City is still the sun and fun capital of America. The glamour, hustle, and greed of America captured in a single city. Each neighborhood has something to offer, from the pastel Art Deco hotels and the bright white sands of Ocean Beach to the bustling panaderias of Little Cuba and the bootleg brands of the Tishawaka Flea Market, out to the Vice City port, the cruise ship capital of the world. So obviously Vice City is based on Miami and the Miami-Dade County area.
Chicken, bacon, ranch.
How y'all feel about it? Did you pre-order
the sauce?
I pre-ordered most. I'm feeling good. Feeling real good. Pre-ordered. I spent the $100. I see people got a bunch of complaints about the game being $100. I feel like they're gonna do something for us for online. I'm not gonna lie. You spend $100, they probably gonna give you some extra stuff.
It's huge. So the best way to tackle it in a video like this is in regions. So I've divided this video up into sections, starting with the oceanside barrier island and working our way into the downtown area, and then eventually sprawling out into the city limits, where you can find the really cool cultural districts like Rockridge, Wynwood, and La Pearl. I also want to say that this game isn't out yet. Any or all of this can change, and I undoubtedly will have missed some things, but the point of this video is to show you what Rockstar is looking at when designing these areas, and kind of help you better visualize the city they're building as we go. So starting on the barrier island, we have several beaches. Now it's worth noting that the beaches of Miami run the entire length of the barrier island, from South Beach to the south, all the way up to the north end of Golden Beach. The legendary Ocean Drive is what most people think of when they think of Miami. It's a strip of pastel painted Art Deco hotels with neon lights and more supercars than you can count. During the day, this place is a moving car show with beautiful car after beautiful car just driving down the street. The hotels that you can see lining the strip in these screenshots are what give Ocean Drive its iconic look. The architecture here is actually from the 1930s and 40s. The city has preserved over 800 unique buildings with curved corners, these porthole windows, and those vertical neon spines that light up the whole street after dark. There's really nowhere else in the world that looks quite like Ocean Drive, and Rockstar is recreating it down to the last detail. The street itself is a slow-moving two-lane road that barely functions as a thoroughfare because everyone is constantly slowing down and taking in the sights. As mentioned, classic cars and exotic rentals cruise Ocean Drive constantly as this never-ending rolling car show. You'll see open-air cafes lining the hotel side of the street, where you can find a mix of tourists enjoying $20 cocktails and people watching. And there's almost always a live DJ or some other ambient music coming from inside a restaurant or club. While cruising down Ocean Drive, you'll see a mixture of rollerbladers, photographers, influencers, people walking dogs, and tourists from all over the world. Across the street on the ocean side is Lummus Park. It's a wide stretch of grass and palm trees that kind of acts as a buffer between the busy street activity and the beach. Now in Lummus Park, or rather Rockstar's recreation of it, we'll have an outdoor gym where we can see Jason pumping iron in Trailer 2, but beyond the gym, Lummus Park is also packed with activity. In the real Lummus Park, you'll see vendors walking the sand selling coconuts and bottles of water. You'll also see rental huts where you can rent out jet skis, paddle boards, and snorkel gear. And as you transition into the sandy beach area, you have all the activities that come with beachgoers. Here in this particular screenshot, we can see a huge upgrade in the NPC population that I've covered in a previous video. Not only the quantity of the NPCs, but the quality and uniqueness. There are literally hundreds of them, and they all look very different from each other. But they're all just out enjoying their day in the sun, getting tan, throwing a football, jogging, or even scouring the beach looking for treasures with metal detectors. It'll be really interesting to see if Rockstar allows us, the players, to participate in activities like this, like throwing a football or metal detection, or if these are just ambient NPC activities to sort of make the world feel more alive. Either way, I think it'll only help with the immersion. But as the day bleeds into evening and the sun drops over the bay to the west, the vibe begins to shift. The beach crowd starts thinning out, the rollerbladers disappear, and Ocean Drive becomes a brightly lit corridor of neon nightclubs. The neon light from the buildings begin lighting the ongoing car show, and the streets transition to thousands of people looking for a place to grab a drink and maybe make some bad decisions. And I think Rockstar understands the vibe of this area because based on screenshots like this one, the police will likely have their hands full with intoxicated NPCs when they aren't chasing you, of course. Now, one block west of Ocean Drive is Washington Avenue. During the day, it's the working spine of South Beach. It has grocery stores and other shops, but at night, it's a completely different machine. Washington Avenue actually becomes the club and bar corridor that runs parallel to Ocean Drive. And historically speaking,
quick. I'm glad I'm going through a vid like this. He's dead ass just breaking it down. In real life, because you already know GTA is it's a parody of real life. Everything you can't do, in real life, you're gonna do on the game. You feel me? That's just what it is. With the NPCs, I wonder if they're gonna be doing all this, mixing it up in the game, bro. That's it. Cause that'll, like he said, that'll bring the whole map to life, bro. The map gonna be big as hell. The map gonna be bigger than GTA 5. I think I watched something, they said the map gonna be bigger than RD2 ASA. So with that being, I wonder, are the NPCs really gonna I just told you, the NPCs gonna bring the whole map together. But I wonder if they're gonna be doing all of this.
Washington Avenue has had one of the more notorious reputations for drug deals, muggings, and street crimes after midnight. And tucked into the middle of all of this is Flamingo Park, which is a 36-acre recreation hub. You've got tennis courts, baseball, basketball, soccer, and football fields, a track, an 8-lane lap pool, and a dog park, all packed into the heart of South Beach. Now, we already know that there will be at the very least NPCs throwing footballs and playing basketball, so someone kicking a soccer ball isn't much of a stretch. Dogs and tennis were introduced in Grand Theft Auto 5, so an area like this could feel very...
I'm glad I'm getting the ass to give me the time to talk. Just seeing this, it's so many shit that will never make the map feel boring. You know what I'm saying? If we can dead ass feel that shit so we go to this part, they're doing this, and it's a constant rotation from, like he said, day and night. It changes. It'll be so much fucking fun.
Live just in a part, you can stay in a part a whole. Make it inhabiting it. Again, it just kind of comes back to whether or not we'll be able to do these things. These are all gameplay mechanics that still haven't been revealed. And somewhere in the general area of Ocean Beach will be the personal garage with a weapons locker and a fence drop point. Now, this was mentioned on the website for that vintage Vice City pack. This is also where Rockstar has parked the 1955 Vapid Stanier for anyone that pre-ordered GTA 6 before November 19th.
I'm at like 16 houses. I'm at like 16 billion
South Beach is a rather large barrier island compared to the other places in Florida. Unlike those places, the South Beach area isn't strictly designed for tourism. It has a rather large local population that lives on the island. Alongside souvenir shops and restaurants, you'll also see grocery stores, large retail shops like Best Buy, and even shopping malls. But South Beach before 1984 was barely even a city. It was a bankrupt strip of derelict buildings housing a community of elderly Jewish retirees. Nobody was really coming here on vacation. But then Miami Vice started filming here, and the production team actually chose Vice Beach specifically because it was run down enough to look somewhat dangerous. And shortly after, the show's visual style became one of the most imitated aesthetics in television history. Developers followed in after the show, and the poverty and decay that had made this useful as a backdrop for the show in the first place was eventually priced out of existence within about a decade. But underneath all of that, the cocaine money was flowing through this neighborhood the entire time. At the peak of the Medellin cartel's Miami operation, an estimated 1/3 of the city's entire economic output was derived from narcotics. John Roberts, Mickey Monday, and Griselda Blanco all had their networks running directly through South Beach. And the pop culture history baked into these streets also make it really interesting. The building at 728 Ocean Drive that was used for the infamous chainsaw scene in Scarface is now a CVS pharmacy. And 1 block away, Gianni Versace was shot dead on his own front steps by a serial killer in July of 1997. Today, it's a luxury hotel, and those very steps where he died are now a popular selfie spot.
And Mr. Versace, as we can see from the bloodstains there on the steps, was apparently killed as he tried to re-enter through the large metal gates to the villa.
Now, if we head north on Collins Avenue, the character of Vice Beach changes once again. The boutique hotels and the budget properties give way to these mammoth resorts that stack as many rooms as possible along the oceanfront. This is the mid and upper beach resort corridor, and these are properties with multiple pools, private beach clubs, celebrity chef restaurants, and nightclubs that pull in millions of dollars on a single weekend. Now, in real life, this stretch of Collins Avenue has hosted some of the most famous names in entertainment history and has appeared in more Hollywood productions than almost any street in Florida. If you continue north past Mid-Beach, you hit Surfside. Now, in the game, Mid-Beach will be called Washington Beach. Okay. And this is, according to the website, where you can find the Shizu Squalo docked if you have the Ultimate Edition. And Surfside is a small municipality that was unfortunately home to a tragic event that killed 98 people when a 12-story residential condo building collapsed in on itself in the middle of the night back in June of 2021. So I don't know that Rockstar will really include any of this, being that it's a rather tragic story, but you never know. Now, above Surfside sits Bal Harbour, which is home to luxury hotels like the Ritz-Carlton and the St. Regis. And Bal Harbour Shops is actually considered to be the most productive luxury mall in the world for its size. Here you can find luxury brands like Balenciaga, Chanel, Prada, Versace, and YSL, all clustered into this single open-air garden mall with fountains and palm trees. Now, it's rumored that Rockstar has over 700 enterable buildings in GTA 6. I'm still skeptical about that number, but if it's true, I can see a place like this being a destination for expensive purchases. And then just north, right across the inlet, Florida starts to get weird again. Tucked between Bal Harbour and the mainland is Hullover Beach, which is, believe it or not, a clothing optional beach. On busy days, it actually pulls in thousands of visitors from all over the world. And Rockstar has not shied away from both male and female nudity in previous games. Now, this would be a giant step in that direction. Personally, I think it'd be hilarious if Rockstar decided to troll the community and include something like a Hullover Beach, but fill it with old pasty white guys going for a skinny dip. But we'll see. But in addition to the landmarks and locations on land, there are whole neighborhoods out on the water. Miami's boat culture is one of the most distinct subcultures in North America, and it runs through almost every part of this city. The Intercoastal Waterway runs the entire length of the barrier island, creating a floating neighborhood of mega yachts, fishing boats, and everything in between. Some of these waterfront restaurants have more boat slips than they do parking spots. I think boat docks and marina properties are going to be a large part of this game as a whole, but especially in the bay between the island and the city. So what does all of this mean for Grand Theft Auto 6? Well, this is going to be one of the busiest areas in all of Leonida. The ambient energy here is exactly what Rockstar builds their best open world content around. Side missions in a place like this practically write themselves. Maybe a club owner needs an overdosing celebrity moved out of his establishment before he dies in the VIP section. Or a nosy photographer snapped a photo of some rich guy with his side chick, and he needs that guy and the photo to disappear. And somewhere on this strip, there's gotta be an FIB informant held up in a hotel room on a very high floor who needs dealing with. The point is, there are countless ways for Rockstar to make use of this area, and I can't wait to explore it. Now, the beating heart of Miami is the downtown area, and here you'll find a little bit of everything from high-end penthouse pool parties and luxury shops to busy cruise ship ports and outdoor markets. So looking at the GTA 6 mapping project, we can see that these guys have named what would be the Brickell area of Miami as Tequesta. Now, the name Tequesta is seen on a sign in the downtown aerial shot pointing south towards where Brickell would be in relation to downtown.
College wasn't built.
Looking at all this, bro, this won't be look like, man, y'all enjoy this game, bro, when this shit drop, bro. Enjoy this shit.
The word Tequesta comes from a 2,000-year-old extinct Native American language of South Florida. Historians suggest that the word means or refers to the central town where the tribal chief resided. And being that Tequesta is more or less a central financial hub of Vice City, the name makes sense. The real Brickell is Miami's financial district. The glass towers stack right up to the edge of the bay, and it makes it one of the largest international banking hubs in the United States. And it's actually the preferred address for anyone moving serious money between the US and Latin America. You'll find this place loaded up with business types standing in coffee lines outside ground floor cafes. You'll also find high-end car dealerships, private banking branches, and luxury jewelers. Now, sitting just off the coast of Tequesta sits Tequesta Key, which is Rockstar's version of Brickell Key. And that's a small private island of luxury condos that are accessible only by a single road. In real life, Brickell Key is a man-made island in Biscayne Bay that exists purely as a luxury residential address surrounded completely by water. In Vice City, it will almost certainly function the same way, and in typical Rockstar fashion, the penthouses and skyrise apartments in this area will more than likely be purchasable for the player in either story mode, online, or maybe even both. And sitting right at the heart of the financial district is Brickell City Center. Its primary function is that of a very large shopping mall. It contains a luxury cinema and dozens of premium stores to shop in. I can absolutely see this being one of the many malls that were rumored to be in the game. As with most places in Miami, the vibe walking through Tequesta will depend heavily on the time of day. During daylight hours, you'll likely see plenty of NPCs in and around the shopping districts and streetside cafes. At night, it'll likely feel a little bit quieter when all the shops close and everybody moves up to the penthouse suites. Now, if we go back to this aerial screenshot, this is Rockstar's version of downtown Miami, and there's a lot to unpack here. The Sahara Arena sits center frame. That's their version of the Kaseya Center, which is home to the Miami Heat basketball team. Now, they've rebranded this, of course, in Vice City as the home of the Narcos. And it's still unclear if there will even be sporting events in GTA 6, but with the Narcos branding and the square footage that this place takes up, I would think that Rockstar would make good use of it. It would be absolutely amazing if there was an actual simulated basketball team that played here, and you could either tune into the games on television or go to one in person, but I think that's a bit of a long shot, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Now, next to Sahara, you have the concert hall and the Vice City Arts Center. In real life, the equivalent is the Adrian Arch Center for the Performing Arts, and it's actually one of the largest performing arts complexes in the world. It has almost a 2,500-seat opera house, a 2,200-seat concert hall, and it puts on nearly 400 performances a year. Now, in past games like Grand Theft Auto 4, Rockstar had comedy clubs where you could go and listen to stand-up from comedians like Ricky Gervais and Cat Williams. It would be really cool if Rockstar would revisit this idea and work on integrating some kind of live performances in-game, similar to the music events in games like Fortnite. It's worth mentioning that digital concerts are becoming more of a regular thing in video games, and I could see Rockstar helping artists promote their music in a sort of quid pro quo kind of arrangement. And then there's what appears to be their version of the Bayside Marketplace. And this is an open-air waterfront shopping and entertainment complex sitting right on the edge of the bay. In real life, the Bayside runs over 200 live performances a year on its waterfront stage, but it's also a very busy marina. You have boat tour operators departing from the marina every hour, and you'll regularly see tour boats, pirate ships, and even celebrity home tour boats coming and going from the marina. And sitting out over the water is a giant Ferris wheel. This is Rockstar's version of the Skyview's Miami Observation Wheel. This area is going to be very similar to the pier in GTA 5, only more detailed and probably containing multiple interactable shops. So off in the distance of that same shot, you can also make out port cranes across the water and that giant cruise ship. This is Vice City Port, and it's already confirmed on Rockstar's own website as the cruise ship capital of the world. The real port of Miami handles more cruise ship passengers than any other port on Earth, and it would be really cool if Rockstar makes these more than just static set dressing. Seeing these giant ships come and go from the port would be really cool, and personally, I would love to captain one of them.
That's what I was talking about earlier. So, like, it's consistently rotating between it being there, shit not being there. When it comes to the NPCs, events happening here, events happening there, no events here, no events there. If we have them all, some like he said, when it gets later on to the day, everybody kind of leaves, and then the people that stay go to the penthouse. The rotating events will make the game feel 10 times more.
Bad boys.
Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
Now, this shot is actually positioned here on the map and gives us a new angle and perspective of downtown Vice City. Now, a few things worth mentioning here is that the cruise ship is the same cruise ship sitting in the same location from the other media that we've seen, which may indicate that it's actually a fixed asset on the map, meaning it won't move. And we don't know for sure. All of this media could have just been taken around the same time. And it's also possible that even if we can't physically watch the cruise ship leave port, that it may be there during different stages of the story. But it is looking increasingly like we'll not be able to captain one of these ships. Now, we also have this really cool LED looking building, which is based on the Intercontinental in downtown Miami. It almost reminds me of Las Vegas and kind of adds a cool element to the Vice City skyline. And speaking of lights, we can also see the Ferris wheel from this angle, and a lot of people are talking about how it's not showing a reflection in the water below. Salco actually made the point that this may be due to the fact that it'll be moving, and a lot of these lights that you can see in the reflections are just static light sources. And I would also like to point out that in the very last shot we just broke down, you can clearly see a reflection from the lighting on the Ferris wheel. It may just be that animating moving light reflections may be pushing the limit of console horsepower at certain distances.
Are you a hot sleeper? Do you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night?
Shut your ass up. Y'all gotta realize, bro, we playing on P4s, P5s. That means probably the next console, it might be coming out next year. That's what happened with GTA 5. It came out September 2013. PS4 came out the next year. And we're kind of limited because we're on the back end of these bad boys right here. We're in the back end. And we finally getting away from the P4. So we just got to see how where does it come from? We just got to see how it play out. You know what I'm saying? If it's laggy and fit, bro, they probably going to
In trailer 2, Jason and Lucia can be seen at a club called 919. This is Rockstar's version of 11. It's Miami's infamous 24-hour nightclub in the heart of downtown. 11 operates on a 24/7, 365 basis. It's technically classified as a nightclub and a strip club hybrid, and it has aerial acrobatics, dancers on a center hydraulic stage, and they often do Cirque du Soleil style performances, and they have a full EDM room all running simultaneously. Now, if you want to learn more about this area, Rob over at Vinewood Public Access went there with his wife and documented as much of the trip as he could. It's an interesting video, and I suggest checking it out. Running through the entire district is the Metro Mover. It's a fully automated rail loop that connects the Cultural District, the Arena, Bayside, Brickell City Center, and the Financial Core in one continuous circuit. It runs on tracks suspended 20 to 30 feet above street level. It's completely free to the general public, and it runs about every 90 seconds. So for players, this seems like a rather obvious gameplay tool for making some cinematic getaways. And then we have the Vice River, which is their version of the Miami River, and it cuts through the southern edge of downtown. It's one of the oldest and most criminally interesting waterways in the city, and yes, I did say criminally interesting. The real Miami River is 5.5 miles long, and it connects Biscayne Bay all the way up to the Everglades. In the Prohibition era, rum runners and Coast Guard officers exchanged gunfire on this river on more than one occasion. And in the 1970s and 80s, it was the best place to drop your shipment of cocaine without the prying eyes of the port officials. But in July of 1985, a group of Miami police officers actually dressed in uniform stormed a fishing boat called the Mary C. The boat was unloading 350 to 400 kilograms of cocaine worth approximately $10 million at the time. The traffickers initially
who's making all this shit, man?
Thought it was a legitimate drug raid, and then one of the officers actually shouted, "Kill them," and it was at that point that they realized that this was just a robbery disguised as a drug bust. The group of officers called themselves the Enterprise and had been systematically stealing cash and drugs for over a year. 20 officers were convicted and sent to prison, and another 80 were either suspended, fired, or reprimanded. And this is just one story of many of how weird Miami can get, and Rockstar has so much to work with here, it's not even funny. Now, the crowd down here is completely different than that on the beach. Ocean Beach is more influencers, rollerbladers, and half-naked tourists. Tequesta runs more on suits and money. During the day, you're gonna see the finance types in tailored suits, valets parking exotic cars outside towers, private security posted up outside jewelry stores, and down by the water you'll have boat captains selling tours, dock workers running the marinas, and tourists wandering bayside snapping photos of the Ferris wheel. And that's really the feeling of Tequesta. As a playground, it's going to offer a completely different experience from Ocean Beach. If you've got a lot of money, Tequesta is where you'll likely go to spend it. And if you're broke and looking to make some money, Tequesta is likely a good place to earn it, or steal it. Now, the parts of the city that we've covered so far are known for luxury shopping, wealth, and glamour. But that isn't Miami, at least not most of it. All around the city are neighborhoods full of unique culture and less flashy but far more authentic ways of life. Rockstar is very aware of this, and based on what we can see in the trailers and screenshots, they're including a lot of it in GTA 6. Calle Ocho is the heart of Little Havana and one of the most culturally dense streets in the United States. It runs through the heart of the Cuban exile community that formed here after Castro took power in 1959. But within a decade, the neighborhood went from working-class Jewish and Southern white community to 85% Cuban, and it's stayed that way ever since. Rockstar's version of this is called Little Cuba. Now, the real-life inspiration for Little Cuba will include places like Domino Park, where old men have been playing dominoes and arguing politics under portraits of their Cuban heroes since before half the city was built. You can also find the Ventanitas, which are these little walk-up windows cut into the side of a building that serve Cuban espressos that they call cafecitos. The Rockstar website specifically mentions the bustling panaderias of Little Cuba, and a panaderia is a Latin bakery. Now, Rockstar could just be world building using these words, but they could also be building these culturally specific things into these neighborhoods to really help sell the immersion for the player, to make you feel like you're in a new area every time you cross over into a different neighborhood. Now, if they're indeed doing that, you could also see things like cigar rollers and tobacco shops, Cuban flags displayed in shop windows. And it actually makes me wonder if old Raul Batista will have some sort of Cuban connection here. We can see a Cuban flag on this cup behind him on this boat screenshot. Now, from a gameplay standpoint,
Please, let me join your fleet, Cap.
What the hell is this? I like hearing shit like that. I like hearing shit like that because it makes you open
Little
your eyes
Cuba
up
to
to
be
the game.
dense with ambient NPCs like domino players, Ventanita vendors, and these shop
fucking
owners.
play
And with a
dominoes.
possible
I'm beating every
Raul
nigga,
Batista
bro.
connection, this could easily be a mission hub if his hideout is around this area. Now, just around the corner from Little Cuba is Rock Ridge. And this is Rockstar's version of a town called Riverside, which is one of the oldest neighborhoods in all of Miami. The name is a nice little example of Rockstar doing their homework because when the developers first laid this place out back in the early 1900s, they advertised it as the Beautiful Ridge for its elevated limestone terrain that sits above the river. So Rockstar just kind of took that and compressed it into Rock Ridge. Riverside is basically Little Havana's quieter, more residential half. It has the same sort of Cuban roots with the Ventanitas and bodegas, just a little bit older. In the real Riverside, you can find things like low-rise apartments, Catholic shrines in the front yards, ambient salsa music playing in homes and shops, and even roosters in backyards. It's a very lived-in, very old neighborhood. Sitting in Rock Ridge is Fleesa Field, home of the Vice City Mambas. In real life, this is Lone Depot Park, home of the Miami Marlins, built on the bones of the old Orange Bowl. Rockstar's rebranded it, of course, as a football stadium, with Fleesa being the same bank that we've seen across the GTA universe, and Mambas tying back to GTA Online. It is confirmed, and we know it's here thanks to the mapping project, which makes it one of the stronger signs that the sports side of Vice City is getting some actual attention. Maybe it's just the lore and ambience, but either way, I'm here for it. The thing that makes Rock Ridge interesting, though, is the river. The Miami River runs along the entire edge of this neighborhood, and right at that riverbank is what could be the centerpiece of the whole town. In real life, there's a massive entertainment complex going up called the Riverside Wharf, and it's this luxury hotel with a private marina for mega yachts and what's set to be one of the largest nightclubs in the entire Miami area. It's currently unknown if Rockstar is building this, but it would be a fantastic location in an otherwise quieter area. I think the geographic location of Rock Ridge is interesting with the location of the river. I can picture myself pulling a heist or something downtown, hopping on the Metro mover, and just as the Metro crosses the river into Rock Ridge, bailing out into the water, swimming up and stealing a boat from the marina and booking it for the Everglades. Anyway, north of Little Cuba, you have Rockstar's version of Little Haiti, and this is probably one of my favorite locations that I've discovered so far. Little Haiti doesn't look like anywhere else in Miami. The buildings are lower, the colors are brighter, and the signage switches from Spanish or English to Creole. The ambience has a very Caribbean feel to it. You'll see Haitian flags on storefronts, botanicas, churches, and record shops all on the same block, and a 9,000 square foot indoor Caribbean marketplace. Now, it's modeled after the Iron Market in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and Rockstar looks to have represented Haitian culture significantly in the trailers and screenshots. Take this shot, for example. As Jason is passing some kind of police encounter, you can clearly make out some Creole text painted on the walls. For example, this phrase, non-memoire ak lan mu, and I've probably butchered that, but it translates to in memory and love. The Haitian flag is also painted across the building face. So it's clear that Rockstar has taken the time and resources to make sure that multiple different cultures are represented in Grand Theft Auto 6, which is extremely important for a game based in Miami, Florida. They literally built their own version of Little Haiti in the actual language with the actual cultural markers all baked into the environment. And this is why we can somewhat safely assume that they'll give other cultures a similar treatment. Now in this shot from trailer 2, you have these 3 guys that look pretty intimidating. The whole shot is short-lived, but the key frame here is a blink and you'll miss it moment. In the frame analyzer tool over on 6Hub, shameless plug, if we stop at frame number 3095 and zoom into the background, you have this community bulletin board, and it has some flyers on it. One of them is from the Le Pearl Caribbean Market, which is likely based on the Mache Haïtien, which literally translates to Haitian market. Now, if we look at the one on the left, you can barely make out the words "our neighborhood" and not "stockyard." And it's hard to say what this means because we can't read all of it, but we do know that Stockyard is a neighborhood and also Le Pearl. And we'll get to Stockyard in a bit, but it did undergo a significant amount of artistic gentrification, and this flyer on the community board may be trying to preserve the cultural integrity of Le Pearl. They may not want modern non-Haitian graffiti art pushing into the neighborhood, as we can see here in this shot of Le Pearl. Now, operating out of Little Haiti is the gang that calls themselves San for San. Now, we know this thanks to the 2022 leaked debug code that revealed encounters and locations tagged with the phrase San for San Hood. Now, San is a Creole word for blood, by the way. So the gang's literal name is Blood for Blood. A bit of digging uncovered some now obvious clues pointing to this Haitian gang and the neighborhood it operates out of. If we look at this screenshot here, the man in the foreground has a chest tattoo that reads Pearl. And if you go back to the bulletin board that we just dissected in the last screenshot, La Pearl shows up again on the community flyers. Then in this screenshot, we have these columns supporting the Metro Mover rail line, and spray painted on those columns is the word Pearl, indicating that La Pearl is almost certainly what Rockstar is calling their version of Little Haiti. La Pearl translates to the Pearl in Haitian Creole, and Haiti itself was historically known as the Pearl of Antilles. It was once the most profitable colony in the entire Western Hemisphere. So all of these guys here on screen are likely San for San gang members. And San for San is of course a fictional gang, but it may be loosely based on the Zopound.
Pause real quick. These tattoos he got on, and when you go back and watch it, this is like what I do, because I watch shit like I might watch my videos like 100 times. I ain't gonna lie, just seeing different shit.
Zopound is a
well, these tattoos he got
was historically known as the Pearl of Antilles. It was once the most profitable colony in the entire Western Hemisphere. So all of these guys here on screen are likely San.
Like this, like you see, like this shit be bugging me out a little bit. Like this ain't too bad. This ain't too bad. You know what I'm saying? But when them shit's like, you got patch tattoos, I hate that shit. But when you got tattoos like this that like connect, that shit clean. So I'm glad to see they upgraded on that.
And San for San is of course a fictional gang, but it may be loosely based on the Zopound gang. Zopound is a Haitian-founded street and organized crime gang that actually started in Miami around 1990 as a self-defense group and then eventually evolved into one of Florida's most feared outfits. They're tied to drug trafficking, armed robberies, home invasions, and even river piracy.
Hi, Powerade.
Powerade. Oh, Powerade. I'm about this. Ain't nobody drinking no damn Powerade. I haven't seen Powerade.
They built a reputation by robbing vessels on the Miami River and moving narcotics through Haiti for the Colombian cartels. The gang's founder, Ali Zo Adam, actually just recently did an interview on Vlad TV about building a multi-million-dollar cocaine pipeline and then the 2007 federal case that brought down the original gang. I've actually dropped a link down in the description if you guys are curious and you want to watch it. The Zopound empire ended in the early 2000s, but the XXXTentacion case is proof that Zo Cruz never fully disappeared because 3 of the men involved in his 2018 murder were identified as members of the Zo Mafia family, which of course is a Zo-affiliated Haitian street gang. And in the Bad Boys movies, more specifically Bad Boys 2, there's a fictionalized Haitian street gang that plays a large role in the story. So if you want a flavor of how Rockstar could be using this in GTA 6, I highly recommend checking out that movie. It's also just a great movie in general. Rockstar is notorious for including pop culture references and inspiring whole missions on scenes from movies, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if we get some Bad Boys 2 references. So San for San isn't just some random street gang that Rockstar has pulled from thin air. There's some actual lore and real-world inspiration behind this crew, and based on how often they're featured in the official...
And the Braves was, huh? Look at that shit checked out, huh?
screenshots, they seem somewhat important. As for gameplay, La Pearl looks like it's likely going to be one of the more active gang neighborhoods on the map. With San for San operating out of here and showing up in these many screenshots, I would expect hostile NPC encounters, gang-related missions, and even some gang aggression if you're rolling through the wrong neighborhood. Now, just east of La Pearl likely sits Crosstown, which we believe is Rockstar's version of Overtown. And the name itself is interesting because I-95 runs directly through this neighborhood and literally crosses through the heart of it. Overtown was once called the Harlem of the South, and in the 1940s and 50s, this was the cultural and commercial heart of Black Miami. Ella Fitzgerald, Count Basie, Nina Simone, Ray Charles, they all performed here at one point in time. The clubs on 2nd Avenue actually ran 7 nights a week, and one of the foundations of Miami soul and funk sound, Deep City Records, was even based here. But then in 1965, the state of Florida ran I-95 directly through the middle of it, and the highway completely destroyed over 10,000 homes and displaced about 40,000 residents in just a few years. Overtown today still has a small, rich music and nightlife vibe, though. You can find venues like the Urban on Northwest 2nd Avenue running hip-hop events and live DJ sets. You'll even see street takeovers and music videos being shot in the streets, and Rockstar appears to have built their version of that lineage directly into the game. The Jack of Hearts, for example, is Booby Ike's strip club and adult entertainment venue, and likely running out of the same building or one nearby is the only Raw Records recording studio. And this is where Draquan Priest and the Real Dimes are producing music and likely requesting your help in one way or another. But the Jack of Hearts itself has a very clear real-world inspiration. The King of Diamonds was one of the most famous strip clubs in Miami history and a landmark of the city's hip-hop nightlife scene. Major artists, athletes, and entertainers all made it a regular stop for years, and the club actually went bankrupt in 2019 and then reopened in a new location in 2020. If you actually look at the Jack of Hearts logo and compare it to the King of Diamonds logo, you can see it's almost a one-for-one. West of Crosstown and north of Little Cuba sits what the mapping community has labeled Ecan-Fanaca and Belleville. These are 2 districts that we believe cover the area of Miami known as Alapata and Liberty City. Ecan-Fanaca is actually an older spelling of Okefenokee, a word from the Hichiti Miccosukee language of the Seminole tribe that translates to bubbling water and was historically used to describe swampland. Alapata is more of a wholesale distribution district. You'll see produce markets, meat warehouses, loading docks, bodegas, and during the day, the streets are full of delivery trucks and workers moving products through the supply chain that helps sustain Miami's fresh food intake. But interestingly, hidden away in this area sits one of the most expensive private art collections in Florida. The Rubel Museum has a collection of around 7,000 original works from some of the biggest names in modern and contemporary art. Which is interesting, because there are a lot of art locations in and around Miami, and we know from the debug code that Art Fence is specifically mentioned. It makes me wonder if we'll be regularly stealing and selling artwork similar to the Wagon Fence in Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, Belleville, on the other hand,
shout out Red Dead, man. Shout out Red Dead.
Sits just to the west of Ecan-Fanaca and is almost certainly Rockstar's version of the area covering Brownsville and what we believe to be Liberty City. Now, I'm not talking about the Liberty City of Grand Theft Auto. I'm talking about the Liberty City of Florida. And it's one of those neighborhoods that's been covered extensively in media, from YouTube documentaries to the 2016 film Moonlight, which was filmed almost entirely on location here and actually won Academy Award for Best Picture. The real Liberty City is where Miami Bass was born. 2 Live Crew, DJ Magic Mike, Uncle Luke, all music that came directly out of the housing projects and corner stores of this neighborhood. And at the center of Liberty Square is one of the first public housing projects built in the American South back in 1937. This is where the infamous Booby Boys operated. Now, the Booby Boys were one of the most powerful drug organizations in Miami history. It was run by a man named Corey Smith that went by the nickname Booby. Sound familiar? Now, at their peak, they controlled a significant portion of cocaine and crack distribution in Miami-Dade County and were known for extreme violence against anyone who threatened their empire. The federal case that eventually brought them down was one of the largest drug prosecutions in South Florida history. Now, it probably isn't a coincidence that one of the confirmed GTA 6 characters is Booby Ike, and Rockstar describes him as a Vice City legend who turned the streets into a legitimate empire. His quote on the official website reads, "The club money pay for the studio, and the drug money pay for it all." Miami has a history of music empires, from the Miami bass sound in the 80s to the major artists of today like DJ Khaled, Rick Ross, and Pitbull. Booby Ike and Only Raw Records.
Man, DJ Khaled ain't no damn icon. I already forgot what he said. Rick Ross and old boy. Okay, cool. DJ Khaled, that nigga ain't spitting out one bar yet.
Records feels like a similar story with a more criminal-inspired
But I
background,
like to hear
which
this.
is
I like to
why
hear
the
this.
dynamic between Booby Ike,
I've been letting it
Priest,
play.
and the Real Dimes is so interesting from a gameplay standpoint because there's like.
Thank you for giving me that. Yo, I like to hear that shit. Like when you put it in an aspect, when you put it in an aspect when we actually start playing the game, for the people that went through this and know about it, you gonna feel the references. See, nigga like me, I ain't gonna really feel them that much because I don't really know all this. I don't really know all this, but for the people that do, you know the background, you at least know a little bit of the characters, you know a little bit of, like, for the map. I'm glad they picked. I'm glad we going back to Vice City. You know why? Because some of y'all probably been through this. You seen this shit for bars. So whenever we get like I don't even think we gonna get a GTA 7. But let's say we go to fucking Chicago. They can do the same thing. Like, you know, this shit is hard.
Going to be some sort of power struggle at some point that may shake up the dynamic of these four people, and Jason and Lucia will undoubtedly be at the center of it. Now, whether Belleville specifically covers Liberty City, or whether that history gets absorbed into Crosstown or Ekampanaca, we don't really know yet. Now, in the GTA 6 mapping project, sitting just northeast of La Pearl and Crosstown is a place called Stockyard. We're pretty sure that this is Rockstar's version of Wynwood. Historically speaking, Wynwood developed as a working-class residential neighborhood and massive warehouse manufacturing district. In the 1920s, it actually established itself as Miami's garment district, which then grew to be one of the largest clothing manufacturing and textile hubs in the entire United States, second only to New York City. The transformation of Wynwood, though, is what's really interesting, because in the early 2000s, artists started moving into these cheap warehouse spaces because the rent was affordable. But then a developer named Tony Goldman invited a group of internationally recognized street artists to paint the warehouse walls, and then the rest just kind of exploded. The murals drew art galleries, the galleries drew restaurants, the restaurants drew money, and then the money drew developers who started buying the very warehouses the artists had been painting. And in about 15 years, Wynwood went from this old, forgotten industrial neighborhood to one of the most photographed districts in the world, thanks to one investor and some cans of spray paint. And we can clearly see that in the screenshots. You can see murals covering most of the visible walls all over these warehouses on both sides of the road. But what you can't entirely make out from this clip is the true culture of Wynwood, which is less Pimp My Ride car show like we see in the screenshot and a little more artsy-fartsy. The car show we're looking at in the clip is likely just an event that was held in an otherwise trendy hangout for 20-somethings looking to express themselves. Or maybe Rockstar is using the look of the area and applying their own culture to it. Who knows? And also with the Ultimate Edition, you'll be able to shop at the newly announced Stock 305 clothing store, which thanks to the website we know is located in Stockyard. And alongside Stock 305 is an exclusive tattoo shop called Electric Fang Tattoo, where Jason and Lucia will be able to choose from over 50 different signature tattoos, all designed by the artist collective Fail. As far as gameplay, Stockyard kind of feels like a social and collectibles district more than a combat one. Think of like photo ops, murals worth finding, ambient NPCs filling out the art crowd, and probably the kind of trendy venues that Rockstar likes to use for its online hangout spaces. If GTA 6 has any kind of collectible or photography mechanic, I would bet that you're going to spend some time here doing that. We also have a small district based on the design district of Miami, but we don't really know much about it yet. On the mapping project, it's labeled currently as speculative Bohemia. In real life, this is where the world's most exclusive luxury brands have built some really interesting buildings to kind of showcase their products. You'll have brands like Hermes, Louis Vuitton, Prada, and Dior, but instead of a mall, each brand has its own sort of standalone building that's designed almost as an architectural piece of art. And the whole district is an open-air neighborhood of galleries, design showrooms, and public art installations. Feels very similar to Wynwood. As far as gameplay, it's hard to say what this area could offer. It sounds like a high-end shopping district with some interesting architecture. I don't know if there will be some missions or side stories or anything that comes out of this area, but it's kind of cool. But almost as a complete opposite to the high-end luxury shopping experience, you have this place called Tishawaka. Now, if I describe to you a real-life Florida neighborhood as having Islam-inspired architecture with mosques, minarets, and streets named after Arabian Nights characters, you would probably have some questions. But then you factor in the city government under active FBI investigation and a flea market that sells bootleg brands, and you would assume that I was talking about the Rockstar parody version. I'm not. Tishawaka is Rockstar's version of Opelika, Florida. The full original Seminole and Muskogee name for the area was Opatisha Wakalaka, meaning a big island covered with many trees and swamps. Rockstar just dropped the first and last word and kept the middle two. The real Opalaka was designed in 1926 by a developer named Glenn Curtis, who was very interested in Arabian culture and decided to build an entire city around that aesthetic. It was once considered an architectural marvel where city officials gave tours and the buildings were a source of civic pride in the area, but eventually the money left, the corruption gained a foothold, and the FBI investigation started. And what's left are the buildings themselves and the stories that go with them. Rockstar's own website confirms their version of this place has a flea market selling bootleg brands, which is a direct reference to the real Opalaka Hialeah flea market, and it's actually one of the largest flea markets in the southeastern United States. Here you can find everything from fresh produce to electronics of questionable origin, all under one very large roof. The flea market is the gameplay interest for me. I can see a dense, crowded location packed with vendor NPCs and bootleg shops, which usually means it'll be an interactable spot for buying or selling stolen goods. I expect Tishawaka to be one of those chaotic, high NPC count environments Rockstar builds for their atmosphere and occasional mission. Little Cuba, La Pearl, Crosstown, Ekan Fanaka, Belleville, Rockridge, Stockyard, Bohemia, Tishawaka. These are 9 distinct neighborhoods, each with their own identity, their own history, and their own role to play in Vice City. Rockstar has clearly done the homework here, and based on everything we found, I think these places are going to be really lively and full of unique culture, so it feels different every time you go from one neighborhood to the next. And I think that's really exciting and really cool that they're doing that. So we've discussed the beach, the downtown area, and the cultural districts around it, so let's talk about where you can find some super expensive mansions and the wealthy class of Miami. South of this city, the pace slows down a little bit. The glass towers give way to canopied streets, marina views, and some very expensive neighborhoods. This is the older, greener, quieter side of Miami, and it has some of the more interesting properties in the city. What we believe to be named Peacock Bay covers the area of Miami known as Coconut Grove and possibly even Coral Gables. These two neighborhoods share the same general character but have distinct identities. Coconut Grove is actually the oldest continuously inhabited neighborhood.
Hearing all this, bro, this shit getting me hyped to play the game, bro. Trying to experience some of that through the game, you feel me? I don't know, 'cause it's not my history. I've never been to Miami yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm only 22, so I still got time. I ain't rich. But, you know what I'm saying? This shit is hard. I'm not gonna lie. All that history, nigga.
The entirety of Miami. Settlers were living here before the city of Miami was even incorporated in 1896. It kind of grew up as a bohemian artistic community, attracting writers, intellectuals, and Bahamian workers who came here to kind of build early estates along the waterfront. And sitting right on that waterfront is Vizcaya Museum and Gardens. It's a Gilded Age Italian Renaissance palace built in 1916, which has these formal European gardens and a private dock stretching all the way out into Biscayne Bay. It's been used as a filming location in Scarface and Miami Vice and is one of the more recognizable landmarks in all of Miami. But Coconut Grove is also home to a rather interesting hotel. The Mutiny Hotel opened in 1968 on Bayshore Drive, and by the late 1970s had become something much more. Regular guests included drug traffickers, CIA operatives, rock stars, arms dealers, and at least one sitting U.S. senator. The owner ran it as a private club above the hotel floors where anything was available for the right price. The parties here are that of legend and would sometimes run on for days. Now, just west of Coconut Grove sits Coral Gables. It's a planned city built in the 1920s by a developer named George Merrick. The Biltmore Hotel is located here alongside the Venetian Pool, which is actually a public swimming pool carved out of a coral rock quarry. Coral Gables also has Miracle Mile, which is this upscale shopping and dining street that Rockstar very well may include as yet another shopping location. But together, Coconut Grove and Coral Gables are the more upscale, wealthy residential districts than the rest of the city. The expensive real estate also extends out onto the water in the bay as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. Sitting alone in the bay, just off South Beach, is Flagler Memorial Island. It's a small man-made island that you can only reach by boat. At the center of it stands a roughly 100-foot-tall obelisk that was built in the 1920s as a memorial to Henry Flagler, one of the early developers of Florida. And we know this is already confirmed as we can see it in both the artwork and the screen grabs from the trailers. North of the 404 sits the Venetian Islands. It's this chain of small man-made islands that are all connected by this causeway. In this first screenshot, we're looking west towards the mainland. It shows low-rise condos with palm trees and private docks. And the night shot is looking east towards the same causeway, just from the other direction. Here you have luxury condos before and after the toll booth, and expensive yachts tied off at private docks or anchored just offshore. Also north of the 404 sits Indian Creek Island. Now, Indian Creek Island is interesting because it's home to about 80 extremely wealthy and influential people. This place has its own armed patrol boats working around the clock, its own private island police force, and a bridge that the island itself controls. The average home price on this island is just north of $100 million. Jeff Bezos.
I mean, that shit finna be fucking expensive. Oh my God, that online drop where you got 500 million. You know, one thing also, if you get far, shout out to you, but I want to see, one thing I do want to see, how they gonna do the housing, how they gonna do the housing for the online, bro. I don't want to be all year. They finally just did mansions. Like they finally did mansions, like what, last year, a couple months ago. They finally just did that. So I want to see off-rip. I want to see different houses being available throughout the whole map. And I'm talking about actual houses, not just like, yeah, they had the little cheap houses, bro. If you was gonna buy a house, it's gonna be a little cheap house. But I'm talking about them good, expensive. You actually want to store your shit here houses. That's what I want to see. So I gotta see.
Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg both have purchased properties here. Zuckerberg is actually rumored to have spent around $170 million for his residence alone. And it sounds insane, because it is. I mean, Florida is wild. Rockstar really doesn't have to invent any crazy stuff. They just have to recreate it. Now, on the 404 itself sits Watson Island, Star Island, Hibiscus Island, and Palm Island. And these islands range from touristy to real estate investment properties owned by foreign dignitaries and others that don't want the publicity. During the cocaine era, some of those estates were purchased through anonymous shell companies by people like Pablo Escobar. Star Island, though, has more celebrity status. It has about 30 to 35 waterfront mansions on a single looping road, and it's home to people like Gloria Estefan, Diddy, and Shaq. Speaking of Diddy, his Star Island mansion was actually raided by Homeland Security in 2024 as part of a federal human trafficking investigation. Now, I don't know how many friends Diddy still has, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have any at Rockstar, so seeing a parody of Diddy and his legal woes could make for great entertainment in GTA 6. Maybe just park some black Suburbans outside the Star Island mansion. But even more interestingly, Star Island existed in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and it was called Starfish Island. Now, this was actually where Tommy Vercetti's mansion was located after he forcefully took it over from Ricardo Diaz. But when Diaz owns the mansion in the early game, it's simply called Diaz's Mansion. But immediately after the mission titled Rub Out with Lance Vance, Tommy assumes ownership and the mansion becomes Vercetti Estate from there on. Now, I'm telling you this because in the recent Vintage Vice City pre-order announcement alongside the Ultimate Edition upgrade, right? We've gotten 2 nods to Tommy Vercetti. One is a weapon camo that closely resembles Tommy's iconic shirt and comes with the pre-order bonus. The second is for the Ultimate Edition purchasers only, and it includes a his and hers set of Hawk and Little revolvers that, according to the GTA 6 website, are, quote, sourced from the Vercetti estate, unquote. And this is a direct reference to a physical location from Grand Theft Auto Vice City. This is not a confirmation that the Vercetti estate currently sits in the new version of Starfish Island, but I think this could be a little tease from Rockstar that we may actually just get Tommy's mansion after all. It's worth mentioning that Rockstar doesn't typically mix universes like this in the past, but that doesn't really mean they can't start now. It's their game and their rules. Now, south of the 404, the islands are a mixture of both residential properties and wildlife preserve. But the most interesting of these would be Fisher Island. It's actually America's richest zip code, and there's no bridge connecting the island to Miami. You can really only get there by boat. And there's around 800 homes, but the average cost of these homes are about $10 million each. Then on Virginia Key sits a concrete amphitheater built in 1963 called the Miami Marine Stadium. It was designed by a Cuban-born architect named Hilario Candela, and it was made for powerboat racing. Crowds would gather in the stands, boats would gather out in the bay surrounding the floating stage. Elvis even filmed part of his Clambake film here in 1967. But after Hurricane Andrew in 1992, it was abandoned. and it's sat vacant and covered in graffiti ever since. But actually, as of early 2026, the city finally approved a restoration plan. So this iconic ruin might actually be coming back to life. Now, whether Rockstar captures it as the graffiti-covered shell it's been for 30 years, or something closer to its former glory, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Now, before we wrap up this tour of Vice City, there are a couple more locations worth talking about, including one that Rockstar hasn't officially revealed yet. If you look at the map, the southern edge of Vice City doesn't just stop at Peacock Bay and Catalan Key. The real US 1 continues south from Miami, and about 26 miles from downtown, it hits a city called Homestead.
I'll tell you this right now. All real 101ish, man. All on, bro. We going to the swamps, nigga. I don't want to hear none of that bitch, man. You going to them swamps, nigga. You swamps. If you soft, you can go to the ocean. If you soft, you can go to the beaches, man. But us, real deal killers, bro. Go to them goddamn swamps with
that city appears to be called Hamlet. And while Hamlet sits further south and somewhat separated from the main city, Homestead is still very much within Miami-Dade County. The name Hamlet actually showed up in the events list from the leaks in 2022. We didn't exactly know where it was located until Trailer 2 dropped and gave us some clarity. If you actually zoom into the opening shot of Trailer 2, you can barely make out this sign here that says what looks like Hamlet when you're squinting your eyes. But the sign is actually pointing northbound on Highway 1, which in real life takes you right up to Homestead. Now, this is really interesting because Homestead is a rather large city compared to something like Clewiston, Florida, which is what they've based Ambrosia on. Clewiston has a population of around 7,500 people. Homestead, on the other hand, has a population of around 87,000 people, more than 10 times the size. Now, population alone doesn't necessarily mean much, but it does have its own NASCAR track, downtown area with landmarks like the old Seminole Theater and the famous Coral Castle. And if that wasn't enough, Rockstar has placed Lucia's prison right outside of Hamlet. Thanks to the GTA 6 mapping project and the wizards over there working on that thing, we now know that they've triangulated its position based on a mixture of real-world data and screenshots from the trailers. Big shout out, by the way, to Yanis. He's been very helpful in this series, answering all of my questions and helping me understand not just where something is, but how we know it's there. So thank you, sir, for your knowledge and expertise. We greatly appreciate what you guys are doing over there, and you can check out the mapping project using the link down below in the description, or you can find it on its own tab over at 6hubhq.com. Now, to be fair, Homestead is located in Miami-Dade County, so it very well could just be absorbed into the larger Vice City area, but as a district similar to Little Haiti or Rockridge. But if that's the case, there'll probably be another district between Hamlet and Peacock Bay to kind of help fill in the city, and this would likely be based on West Perrine, which is a small unincorporated suburban community which is home to about 10,000 residents. We have no real evidence that this exists yet. It's purely speculation at this point. But it is worth mentioning that outside of Hamlet, the only other information that we know about South Vice City is the location of a faction that may be called PTT Youngins. There is a mention in the Ultimate Edition of a raidable gang location, and this is what the website says. Gang compound, PTT Youngins Illegal Goods Store. Raid the compound of one of Southside Vice City's loudest and most socially active gangs and escape safely to score some special items and distinct.
So we could possibly have the Cubans. That's some Cuban missions, and that's got to deal with the, I forgot his name. He was on the boat with the Cuban cup behind him. And then you got, what was they called? S for S. It was a sign for sign, you feel me? And then you got them. That's 3 different games. And then we got the feds. That's 4 groups, 4 kind of, how can I say it? Gang groups you got to worry about. You got the mob, you got the feds, police. I won't even say like the police. I'll say more like the upper echelons of, you know what I'm saying, law enforcement, you know what I'm saying, the FBI, the CIA, them niggas, you know, CIA. And then the 2 gangs and the Cubans. That should be hard. It should be hard.
Contraband. Now, this is the first official mention of this faction, and although we don't know exactly where they'll be operating, we do know that the general location is going to be the South Vice City area, which could be West Perrine or even Hamlet. Now, before we leave the southern end of the map, it's worth talking about the airport. The Vice City International Airport is confirmed on the mapping project sitting just southwest of Hamlet, which makes sense because the real Miami International Airport sits in almost exactly that same location. Miami International is one of the busiest airports in the United States, handling over 52 million passengers a year. It's the primary hub for American Airlines and the main gateway for flights between the United States and Latin America and the Caribbean. And it could be our gateway to other places. Rockstar insiders did tell Jason Schreier back in 2022 that they were planning on expanding the map post-launch. Where they take us is anyone's guess, but we may need an airplane to get there. And one thing worth knowing, that iconic Miami International Airport sign that you've seen in dozens of movies and TV shows, it's actually not real. It's just a movie prop. The actual airport doesn't have a large roadside sign like that. Productions have been using versions of it for decades, and the general public largely accepted it as real because they've never had a reason to question it. I find it interesting that one of the screenshots we have is of that same sign, just redecorated in the Vice City branding. Airports in the GTA games have always been mission-critical locations for many situations, so let's hope they become even more meaningful in GTA 6. By the way, if you want to dive deeper into my expansion theory, check out the Mount Calaga video. The link is in the description. So that's Vice City, guys. From the neon strip of Ocean Beach all the way down to the southern edge of the map at Hamlet. But we're not done yet. We still have some really interesting places to cover in this series. For example, just north of Vicedale County line sits Leonard County, which is Rockstar's version of Broward County. And that means possible locations like Fort Lauderdale with its sprawling Venice-inspired canal system, the seminal Hard Rock Hotel and Casino with its iconic guitar-shaped tower, and what appears to be a massive mall. That video is already underway, so if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure
Alpha. Is that mid? I can't read that. Kalowiski, and whatever it is say. And then this THV? I don't know what that is.
you do, because you do not want to miss that one. If you got anything out of this video, please hit the like button. An absolute ton of work went into this one, and it genuinely helps more than you know.
Hey, man. Shout out Sam, man. Shout out Sam. This is a good ass video. I advise y'all to go check it out. You probably, if you hear it now, I don't even know what you're doing. But if you hear it now, you probably ain't gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? But this shit looks good. I'm not gonna lie. All the history behind it, why they picked it, and I'm ain't gonna lie, I'm low key glad they picked. I'm glad they played. I'm glad we at Vice City, bro. I'm glad we at Vice City, bro. All this shit, you can't do this shit in buck fuck nowhere, all right? You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying, like, we in Nevada, there ain't shit there. But we in Vice City, whole bunch of shit you can put in the game and it be lit, bro. This is what I'm talking about, man. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, link to the description. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go edit this up, put it up quickly. I'm out of here, man. Subscribe, like, share. Yeah, bro. We gonna be lit. We gonna be lit online and in story mode. Hopefully them CPUs goddamn feel that shit up, make it feel alive, bro. That's really it.